Good. All right. Now we will call to order this listening session of the Bloomington City Council. We have 6 of the 7 members here. I think Councilmember Nelson is likely on his way, so we will clock him in when he arrives. So we have the official 7, but we do have a quorum of 6 members here. We have, I know, 2 folks here that I'm seeing. Sally Ness, who called ahead of time, and Phil, we've talked. We'll get you on afterward. You're the only 2 that we have, so we officially in our rules here that we have, we limit it to 10 minutes. So if it doesn't mean we're going to fill up the entire vacuum here if we get the opportunity. So we're going to try and limit it to 10 minutes, but we'll have a good discussion and we'll go from there. So Sally, come on up.
Okay, Mayor and Council, City Manager's email dated May 7th, 2022 states, conditional use permit applications must include the following information. An application form signed by the property owner or authorized representative. Would a person who signed the application was identified in the city minutes as the applicant and signed an amended and restated site development agreement that states entire agreement superseding all prior agreements be someone who represents the property? Yes or no? I have 2 more questions, but yes or no? Should I read it again? Because you probably weren't.
I mean, I would defer to the attorneys how this all works, but I think, yeah, the person who signs is probably the person who signed it and is responsible for it, but I don't want to say that officially on the record until I hear from the attorneys.
Mr. Mayor, Ms. Ness, without seeing the actual application and who signed it and their role, I can't offer.
This is a general question. So the city manager said this part, the top part, conditional use permit applications must include the following information. An application form signed by the property owners or authorized representative. So that you guys hopefully saw when you read the city manager's email back to me. Mm-hmm. So then my question is, and then a conversation if you'd like, would a person who signed the application, so again, the application has to be the property owner or the authorized representative.
And I don't know who was it that signed it?
Well, no, I'm asking a general question. I'm asking a general question. Would a person who signed the application be an authorized representative? Because I mean, our conditional use permit says it. I mean, what the city manager sent us, conditional use permit applications must include the following information. An application form signed by the property owner or an authorized representative.
So who signed it? I mean, that's my question. Was it the property owner or an authorized representative? I don't remember. That was 11 years.
Well, no, I'm not asking that. I'm not asking, would a person who signed the application, who was identified in the minutes as an applicant and signed an amended and restated site development agreement, would that person represent the property? Not particular.
Not who that was.
Generally.
Generally
Is that it's a yes or no question. You know, we were sent an email that said, you know, who's ever on that application is an authorized representative. That's what the city manager sent us.
And I think the general answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
Now, the specific answer is,
now,
as Mr. Zuniga said,
right.
I mean, without seeing it, without having it in our hands.
Right. So now I'm doing the specific.
Okay.
Because that's the general question that person would represent. If that person is what I said. So Hyder Aziz signed the application, was identified in city minutes as the applicant, and signed an amended and restated site development agreement. Would he therefore be an authorized representative? And yes, you have to refer to legal. And I'm saying refer to the answer you just did previously. You know, I mean, who else would have been the representative? You have to, an application form signed by the property owner or authorized representative.
So do you have a concern that he's not? Is that why you're asking?
No, I believe he represents the building, always did, always had. Yeah. And then when the question was asked by City Council Member Beloga, is it fraud to make a representation so that you can entice someone to get a conditional use permit passed. That's not exactly what he said. I'm just, and our city attorney back then said he probably didn't represent the building. And then I was unable to have a conversation with anyone. That was an inaccurate response.
So if I can paraphrase just for my clarity, you're saying that this person, Mr. Azid, is that right, Azid? Signed the conditional use permit as the authorized representative. We accepted that conditional use permit application with his name on it. And then later, when you asked the question of the attorney about
The former.
the former attorney, right?
Yeah.
About fraud, the answer was that they did not believe that that person, Mr. Azid, represented the building.
He generally said he probably doesn't. And it was Beloga that asked the question.
I see.
And then
Attorney at the time.
And then I wanted that clarified because that did not answer the question. You
Right.
know, we had a presentation and we had a proposal and a use that didn't match it. And so Beloga asked a very pertinent, important question, and the city attorney answered it inaccurately. And I'm saying that's inappropriate, and here, you guys, that was wrong. And then to go further, so it was to me, was it misleading for the city attorney to state Mr. Z's probably didn't have the legal authority to make the representations he did during the CUP hearing? And he is the one that signed the application. So none of this makes sense, and it should make sense. And the city keeps moving forward, and our neighborhood keeps being negatively impacted. And I want to go back to this. This shouldn't have happened. He did represent the building.
Okay, so I mean, I guess that's the first thing to clarify, right? That he was in fact a representative.
Yeah, and I did send you guys my blog where I show he signed these things. And then to further difficulty is you guys got an email from the city manager and he sent you documents. Okay, he sent you the original site development agreement with another person's name. Yet there's 3 documents with Hyder's name. So, here I'm saying, come on, clear this up. And you have a city manager that didn't send the application, sent the original site development agreement, which is null and void, right? Because this new one says the entire agreement superseding all prior agreements. That states entire agreement superseding all prior agreements. So he sent you one that was prior to the one that is current. The current city manager sent you one that is not the valid one. The valid one has Hyder Aziz's name on it. And then he also didn't send you the application, which, fortunately he sent clarified it by saying the application is signed by the property owner, the authorized representative. So.
Can I ask a follow-up question? And if you don't know the answer, that's totally fine. But this CUP hearing that you're referring to, I think it's
2011.
2011. Thank you. Do you know offhand so that's this individual, Mr. Aziz, he spoke at that hearing. Do you know offhand, was he the only individual representing the property who did speak at that hearing?
Yeah, I believe so. And then the attorney who represented the building. So it was Hyder Aziz and the attorney Fernand Peters. And you recall that? I mean, you were.
My goodness, Sally, that was 11 years ago. That was
Right.
So
meetings ago.
11 years ago, but an ongoing concern.
if I could finish my, because what I'm wondering, and this is maybe a question for staff more so, is, without attempting to divine an opinion from someone who does not work for the city anymore, who did 11 years ago, I guess my question is, is it possible, were there others who were present, and it sounds like there was an attorney at least. Because to my mind, if there are multiple people who can speak to an item, who are able to and authorized to and all of that, who can speak to an item, then I think we need to be careful about stating that one person and one person alone is responsible for that. And so in this case, there was an attorney there. And so one individual may say things and make representations. And I guess what I'm really getting at is who is the sort of authority, for lack of a better term, to make.
So he is again the one that signed the application, went to the Development Review Committee in March and again, no, in February and then again in March. He is I believe, my recall is he's the only one that spoke besides the attorney.
So, and that's.
But the attorney wouldn't have been, the questions, if you go back and read the minutes, the questions are hydro disease. Hydro disease, there was 900 to 1,000 people at the gym that doesn't have a certificate of occupancy. It's direct questions to him.
So I get what and the point I'm making is that, in the way, for example, that someone may ask the mayor a question, but the mayor defers to a city attorney to answer.
But again,
That's what I'm getting at.
for the city attorney specifically, though, would be to go and look who did the application, who was listed as the applicant during the meetings, and who also signed the site development
I'm
agreement.
just wondering why we would continue to move forward with a conditional use permit hearing if the person that's in that room can't represent that information accurately. I think we should ask that question as a city, to say, we should confirm that the person signing the application is the person we are holding to account for that. And if what I understand, the city attorney at the time believed that wasn't the person, then we probably do have some open question for us to look in about our procedures. Would you?
I would agree with that.
I know that
We're-
time is almost up.
So if I could, Sally. So we're talking about conversations that happened 11 years ago with a different city attorney, a different city manager, a different mayor, an entirely different council. I mean, it's been complete turnover, right? And so it's difficult to kind of put all of this together and try and make decisions based on something happened that long ago, based off of minutes. And so I'm going to beg some forgiveness with our legal staff to try and work their way through this. And then the second thing I would like to ask you is, to what is this all leading? I mean, you're asking questions, but to what is this all leading?
Quick question. Who signed the application for 1701 American Boulevard? You guys just went through it. Does anyone know who signed the application for the conditional use permit at 721 American Boulevard?
I couldn't tell you who signed any applications for any conditional use.
But that is the person who represents the building.
Probably good.
Yeah, that's what staff does.
It's a problem. That person represents the building. That is according to.
I'd like to have the answer to your
Yeah, and that's my question. What is the end result here, Sally? What are we talking about all this for? What do you hope to come of this? Are you thinking that we're going to void the conditional use permit? Are we going to take them to court? Are you going to take them to court? What are we leading to here?
To identify what happened, not let it happen again, clean up our, I don't remember the word you said, but we have some.
I would just think our process, we might want
I
to take
mean,
a look at. Yeah.
again, specifically asked, who knows who signed the application for 1701 American Boulevard? That is the applicant of 1701 American Boulevard.
Did we make the same mistake again is the question maybe, right?
Well, anyway,
Do we
just-
know if that person is in fact representing the building?
Working on this specific property or this specific group of people.
We're not picking on anyone. I am next to a building that is overused and non-compliant. And when I questioned it,
So
this is what happened.
So your intent though is just for us to clean up processes?
No, it's to uncover what happened, to clean up what happened. There's misconceptions about myself. I've seen the way emails have been written in the past.
Cleaning up what happened mean? What does that mean? I mean that genuinely. I don't understand.
To understand what really happened, because I don't think you guys know. I think you've heard from
None
other,
of them were here.
right,
I mean, no,
Right.
I was literally
and we're moving
around this table that was here.
forward, making, like people going to the building and standing up and supporting while there's semis parked. It's like, wait a minute,
I appreciate the conversation. We're going to move on. We're 5 minutes over, but I appreciate it. Thank you much for coming. Bill? Natalie, were you looking to comment tonight, or?
I could, yes.
All right, we're going to give Phil 10 minutes and then we'll have 5 minutes left for you.
Okay,
All right.
Thanks, Mayor and members of council. My name is Phil Cookton.
I am a planning commissioner for the city of Bloomington, but it's important that I state I'm on here on my own tonight, not representing the planning commission. I'd like to talk about the Metro Blue Line. I am a resident of Bloomington Central Station and I work in downtown Minneapolis, so I'm a daily commuter on the Blue Line. And, you know, the last 2 years, right, you know, before COVID, the Blue Line had its moments, but it was generally fine. The last 2 years has taken a major downturn, and I want to make sure that everyone's aware of the current conditions of it. So it's become a stressful and just generally uncomfortable place to spend your time. So I think there's really three issues among many that I have a problem with the Blue Line. The first is it's become socially acceptable to smoke on the train, which is amazing if you haven't been on the train, but it's just become acceptable to smoke on the train. I would say if it's not every day, it's every other day, somebody lights up a cigarette in your train car and it fills the whole thing up with smoke. And then you smell like smoke when you go to work, when you go home, and it's annoying and it's just very frustrating. So that's problem number one. Another thing that's really become a problem, and it never used to be, is the trash problem. Minneapolis was always a clean city. We were known for being a clean city. And the trash problem has gotten totally out of control, especially at the South Minneapolis light rail stops. If you go to Franklin Avenue or Lake Street stations, they are appalling with the amount of garbage there. They're literally cleaning the stations up with shovels now instead of brooms, which is shocking. And then that gets onto the trains. And so like you get on the train to go home from work and you have to select where you sit based on where there's a clean seat, which is frustrating and it just shouldn't be that way. Never was that way. So that's the second point. The third point, which is the most disappointing, is the drugs on the train. And I didn't grow up in that environment. None of us should have to be in that environment. I know Councilmember Carter and I spoke. I almost had to give a guy CPR this winter after he overdosed on fentanyl. And I'm standing over him as he's passed out, hoping he takes every single breath, knowing that I'm a missed breath away from having to give CPR to this guy. And it's just like, I'm just trying to go home from work. And I think my tipping point was maybe like 6 weeks ago. I was on just a regular commuter train, like 4:30 in the afternoon, going home from work. And there's three guys right in the middle of the train doing drugs. And I'm not marijuana, I'm talking narcotics, right in the middle of everybody. There could have been kids on the train, there could have been anybody. And I'm from me to any of you, from people doing drugs. I'm just going home from work. And it was just very frustrating to see this and go, why do I have to put it, like, why do I have to be near this? Just going on public transit to and from work. And so, you know, it's just a frustrating thing where it's like, I already work a stressful job and then I have to spend the first 30 minutes of my day and the last 30 minutes of my day in a stressful, uncomfortable environment. And, you know, I think the Blue Line is important to Bloomington because it goes through Bloomington Central Station, our transit-oriented development on 28th Avenue. Obviously, it's a big tourist attraction going to Mall of America, and it can be the first, it's the sort of the gateway to Bloomington for some people coming from the airport. And I see the looks of people coming on from the airport that are clearly guests, and it's frustrating to see their faces drop when this is their first, you know, view of the Twin Cities area, and it's like there's somebody sleeping on the floor or it's just garbage everywhere. And it's just frustrating that that's the first opinion people have of the Twin Cities. It never used to be that way. So I'm very aware that the city of Bloomington doesn't control the light rail. That's not our jurisdiction, I know. But I'm hoping we can find something that we can do to send a message to the Met Council that this isn't acceptable, that the city of Bloomington, we don't accept this, that this is past the threshold of what we believe to be acceptable for us, and it impacts our city. And I hope we don't stand for it. So I don't know what we can do, but I'm asking Mayor that we find something we can do to send the message to try to get some change happening, because for 2 years, nothing has changed. And I think that's what's most frustrating to me is there's a problem and it's just never gotten fixed. It's just every day, every week's the same thing.
Yep. And I will tell you, it's certainly not news. I saw Molly Cummings, our Met Council representative. I saw her at a meeting last week and I mentioned that you and I had talked and invited her to the meeting, didn't know when you were going to be here. So but she was interested in it as well. But again, it was not news to her. She knew it full well. So I agree. It has gone downhill consistently. I used to ride the blue and the green line all the time and there was nothing like that. No, nothing like that ever. So I don't know, Chief, is there anything from a station patrolling standpoint, you know, the stations here in Bloomington that we could deal with, or what is the jurisdiction? How does that?
We've been putting some of our officers who are assigned to the mall on the train, just riding the 23-minute ride back for the Bloomington area. And we've seen the same things. Obviously, we're still dealing with Met Council and Met Transit with the mall station too. So there are significant issues, but we can try to increase what we do for Bloomington, but outside of having them ride further in Bloomington, we can't. I'm not gonna have them do that.
And I will say, real speak, the Bloomington stations are the best ones on the line. No question about it. It gets significantly worse as you cross the airport into Minneapolis, but it's still, the train itself is still a problem. The stations are much better here.
Well, we'll, Patrick?
Yeah, well, and this is more just kind of to spitball a little bit, especially as we're looking forward to really doubling down on the benefits of transit-oriented development, density, walkability, all these things. Would it be feasible or possible to do some kind of joint letter saying that's put in jeopardy if the transit and the transit-oriented development is not safe or reliable? I know that's kind of more of a symbolic thing, but every city is looking at these type of developments now. And you know, what is the centerpiece?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and appreciate you coming and bringing this forward. As some of my colleagues know, my daughter used to ride the Blue Line to school every day. She goes to a charter school in St. Paul, and she'd go downtown Minneapolis and then connect over and go to St. Paul. That was pre-pandemic, because then they shut schools down for a while. And then she became 16 and she could drive. So she hasn't been there in a while. I do know there were issues before that as well. But it sounds like they've clearly gotten worse. I mean, my own daughter, who at the time was 15, saw people doing heroin and had men come sit next to her. And fortunately, she wrote at times that a person like yourself or a businesswoman or something like that would come sit down next to her to make sure she was okay. She would ride with a friend on it and things like that. So, you know, this should be safe. It should be, you know, people shouldn't have to worry about those things. And, you know, it's, so I appreciate bringing that forward. Chief, I appreciate you doing what you can in Bloomington, and let's continue to work with our colleagues through the rest of the corridor to get that as best as we can, because people need to get to work, they need to get to airports, they need to get to schools, they need to get to all sorts of places. And like Mayor Rossi said, you know, huge investments in this thing to make this thing work. Let's, you know, make sure it's safe. So
Absolutely.
appreciate you keeping that on the radar, because I know it's gotten significantly worse since she was on it.
I think the Metro Transit company line, though, safety is our number one priority, is not backed up. It like, it makes me cringe when I hear that, like, oh, safety is our number one priority. It's not.
I will, as Sean mentioned, we'll put together, I'll put together a letter, an email or something. We'll express these concerns and push it forward. And if we could maybe have the chief sign on as well, but basically just bring some of these concerns forward on behalf of Bloomington that, yes, it's affecting transit. It's affecting our development. It's affecting how people live. And so it's definitely worth something worth them taking seriously and looking into. I understand they've got a boatload of problems right now with everything else, but, you know.
Yeah, I was just curious, the group that you have been meeting with that are like the sheriffs from around, or the chiefs and the, well, county sheriff, I'm assuming, and then mayors. I mean, would this be something to bring up there? Obviously, not every city has a light rail, but they have public transit. So just to see if there would be some.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I mean, from a light rail standpoint, it's basically two cities, but that doesn't mean we couldn't talk also to some city council members in Minneapolis as well and try and get them on board to try and clean this up a little bit. Agreed.
Generally, I would say buses are significantly more safe and comfortable than the light rail is.
All right.
Well, that's fascinating, because that
It's, you.
opposite of all of my experiences anywhere else in the country. And so, yeah.
I'll tell you.
And the one thing I'd ask, Mayor, is if when we have these conversations and in the letter, if we ask for specific measures, specific steps that they're going to take to address this concern, not just like, oh, we hear you, we think it's a problem too. Like, what are you going to do? Like, what are we, and I think what I heard is Bloomington's ready to do what we can if we're asked. And so let's
Yeah,
get.
there's a lot of systemic issues. I mean, you know, the chief and Met Transit put every met transit officer on the train. And when they did that, they had homicides on the buses. So that kind of thwarted some.
We are very public about our data, and it would be interesting to know if Met Transit published their
Agreed.
data,
Mm-hmm.
or if they'd be willing to.
All right. Thanks for bringing that forward.
Thank you, everybody.
Appreciate it, Phil. Yeah. Natalie, good evening.
Good evening.
Are there?
I need to sign in here when I'm,
When you're done, you can sign it when you're done. Mhm.
so I just have one question that I'll read to make sure I don't start rambling. If an application for property tax exemption is inaccurately filled out, whose job would it be to contact the property owner and Hennepin County to correct the application?
If an application for property tax exemption is inaccurately filled out, who should follow up with that? I don't have a clue right now. Mike, off the top of your head, or are we gonna have to investigate this?
Well, Mr. Mayor, council members, it's one of, I would imagine it's one of three people at Hennepin County. It's either Mark Chapin, the head of resident real estate services, Jim Atchison, the county assessor, or I guess the other third name I would come up with would be David Huff, county administrator.
And I think short of that, for an advocacy role, Debbie Gattell, or Hennepin County Commissioner, I'm sure would be able to provide guidance or help with that as well.
Oh, that's right. Natalie, did somebody get notified that that was inaccurate or was it just
Just a
rejected?
question I wanted to ask tonight.
Oh, you just needed the info. Okay, gotcha.
And if you could tell me that second name again, I couldn't write that.
Jim Atchison, Atchison.
Yeah.
I believe he's also a Bloomington resident. Used to be a Bloomington resident.
Used to be.
Just to follow up on that, this wouldn't be something that would go through the State Department of Revenue?
It's the second, I'm literally Googling.
Okay.
Go Google. Under each program, you'll find who to contact. Your county assessor's office is the best place to start, according to the property tax program, which would be Atchison.
Okay.
Please.
Hope that works.
Like, would it be possible to work with our assessor's office too, if they could be of assistance in any way? Obviously, they wouldn't have the specific information, but would Matt be able to help out?
That'd be the Bloomington assessor?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
We could help.
Great.
Glad it was a good question.
Come back.
Group effort.
Teamwork.
Yeah.
Work.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no one else here, I will officially adjourn tonight's listening. Oh, what?
Motion to adjourn?
I can't do it by, okay. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn our listening session this evening.
Moved.
We got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Very good. Thank you.
I had to do it once in my career.
All right.